my name's Katie Anquandah. I'm very excited to give you this speech today. The point of this speech is to show you the importance of giving breast milk to infants during early infancy. By the end of this speech, it is my goal to have your mind, your heart, and your eyes open to the importance of milk from women with a proper diet given to infants 0 to 6 years old in America. I will first talk about the stigma related to breastfeeding in America, the push for formula, the effects of both, and I'll give an easy solution to how all babies can be fed breast milk from women with a proper diet for 0 to 6 months, from birth to 6 months old. In America, there's a huge social stigma on breastfeeding. You go to any local mall, there's probably Fredericks of Hollywood or Victoria's Secret shop. And outside those stores, those lingerie stores, you see huge billboards, huge posters, huge signs, and pictures of women with their bra and their lingerie on, blown up, for anybody to see passing by. And it's culturally accepted, and it's considered normal behavior. But yet you see the woman on the bench outside the store breastfeeding her child, and it is disgusting, and it's rude, and it's awkward, and she should go hide, she should go to the bathroom. This social stigma in America is really hard, not only on the women trying to do the best for her child, but it's also hard on the child and the culture in general. A recent study in 2016 talked with a lot of women in America about breastfeeding in public, and the women said that they were given verbal harassment. They were told to cover themselves, to go elsewhere. They said they received a lot of awkward stares, and it made the women feel like they were on show and on display and uncomfortable, and a lot of them actually discontinued breastfeeding before they planned and intended to, just because of the cultural influence on them. But it's not only just like people passing by in malls and shopping areas and in restaurants that are diminishing the breastfeeding in America. Even the Center for Disease Control, their recent report in 2016 states that the optimal age for breastfeeding is only to 6 months old, where they receive all the antibodies. But if you talk to local moms groups or local moms blogs online, they say that even past 6 months, they have found that their children are smarter, their children are more stable in relationships, that the breastfeeding helps calm even tantrums at 1, 2 years old. And so the Center for Disease Control in America and the passerby are for diminishing long-term breastfeeding, but there's huge moms groups out there saying that longer-term breastfeeding is not only helping them, but it's helping their children be more emotionally stable. I'm going to go on and talk to you about that there's like an over-marketing of formula in America, and it promotes the formula being given to the babies right at the hospital or even before the woman's gives birth. A recent study by Bartik in 2010 compiled a group from all over the regions of America, and the women that were marketed formula before delivery said they found out they were 68% more likely to give their babies formula over breast milk. Not only is it the over-marketing from the big formula companies, but it's also the OBGYNs often state that the formula is just as good as the breast milk. But a recent study by the Successful Company in 2015 found that it's not just as likely. It's just not as even. The formula is not as even as the breast milk. There's antibodies in the breast milk that cannot be chemically recreated in the lab. So when the babies are given the formula, their immune system is actually weaker than the breast milk itself. Now, I'll go on to talk to you about another study done by a diet journal in 2015. They did 5 different studies, 5 different testing groups, and they found that the formula and the breast milk were very comparable in nutritional value. But the Western Pears Foundation in 2016, the year after that study, went in and studied why did they find that the breast milk and the formula was comparably even nutritionally. And they found out that it was because the women that we were getting the breast milk from ate a very poor diet. That it was high in sugar, it was high in processed grains, it was high in unsaturated fats. And so these things went into the breast milk, and so the breast milk was lacking in vitamin A and vitamin D and essential omega-3 and essential omega-6 oils. And so therefore the breast milk from the woman with a very poor diet was equally, almost equally nutritious with the formula, but it was still more nutritious than the formula. So it comes to that they're misunderstanding how the nutrition affects the breast milk, and that is really the main reason why the breast milk is more important than the formula. So breastfeeding from birth to 6 months will increase in America when people are educated and exposed to proper breastfeeding methods. The education about the benefits of breast milk with a proper diet, Women, Infant, and Children, WIC, has been advocating this in America for decades. They educate and support breastfeeding mothers, and 34% of the program participants are educated on the benefits of breast milk over formula. So WIC is doing good throughout America with the support of breastfeeding, but they can be educating the women even more. Rather than just giving them checks for formula, they can be educating them more and more on the breast milk and the benefits thereof to increase that 34% and make it go higher. Not only education, but there has to be a change in the culture. There's been a cultural inheritance since around the 1950s. That people are switching to formula because it's more convenient. Even me myself, before I started having children, I was going to give my children formula. It's what I planned on because that's how I thought babies were fed. Because anywhere I go, I see mothers and daddies put the powder, put the water, shake it up, and give it to their baby. I see babies with bottles everywhere. Even my own sisters, they gave their babies formula. So that is what I saw in the culture around me. So when I went to have my own children at 28 years old of age, I thought that's how they were supposed to be fed. But I found out through Women, Infant, and Children, the WIC program, the benefits of breast milk over the formula. There's hundreds of things in the breast milk that they cannot recreate in the lab. And so that's why I chose to use the breast milk rather than the formula. And then also there's a famous blogger, To Wen Xiang. She actually was breastfeeding in public in Southern California in 2016, and she was so harassed that she sued the other person. And the lawsuit, she won the lawsuit because she has a legal right to breastfeed in public. And so it's women like her and women like me that are making the choice to switch from what the culture is saying and promoting what is natural, that it will bring about a change in American culture and make it easier for other women to breastfeed their babies. So there has to be more breastfeeding in public, not just in bathrooms or in some little section of an airport that you go breastfeed, but there needs to be a cultural push that you breastfeed the baby when the baby's hungry. The baby shouldn't have to scream for 5, 10, 15 minutes till you find a little corner to cover yourself to feed the baby. But if that's what you want to do as a mom or as a caretaker, then the best thing is that the baby gets the breast milk rather than the formula. Another thing that's going to bring about cultural change in America is local breastfeeding coalitions, milk banks. There's a website, usbc.com. It's a coalition of breastfeeding network all over America. On this, women can be encouraged and find support locally in their communities for breastfeeding. They have an initiative to normalize breastfeeding in local communities in America, and also women on there that cannot produce milk, or women that have adopted babies, or men that have adopted babies. They can go on there and they can find information where they can get breast milk from a local milk bank that will test the milk and make sure it's healthy for their child. And it's actually cheaper to buy the breast milk than it is to buy the formula. So breastfeeding with a nutritious diet is better than formula because it develops a stronger and smarter and more stable America. If more babies are breastfed from 0 to 6 months, there's a significant exclusively breastfed diet for the first 6 months. The colostrum at birth, it gives raw fats, proteins, peptides, vitamins, minerals, and it cleanses the meconium out of the baby's system from being in the womb and builds antibodies. These are things that formula will never be able to do. And then after the colostrum, the matured breast milk within the first 6 months, it helps regional brain development and speech recognition. Pivek, Dykeman, and Gilchrist in 2007 did a study. They took 15 breastfed babies and 18 formula-fed babies, and they tested them twice, once at 3 months and once at 6 months. And the babies at 3 months that were breastfed and the babies at 6 months that were breastfed, their brain regions, the synapses in between each region was stronger. And from left to right, the synapses were stronger. And those babies recognized speech more often and faster compared to formula-fed babies, whose synapses in their brain were much slower and recognized speech much slower. And then another study that was released in 2015 from the successful they tested the memory retention of 5-year-olds. And the 5-year-olds were breastfed at least 12 months. None of them were given formula. And the ones that were tested at 5 years old, they needed little repetition and learning, and they spent less time after school doing homework compared to the ones that were given formula for at least 12 months that were tested at 5 years. So, if the babies aren't given the colostrum, they have weaker immune systems, so this means they're more susceptible to infection and disease. So this means more hospital visits, this means more money for medical care, this means more drugs given to them, and then this means that even as adults, they're not going to build those antibodies through early infancy and childhood. So even as adults, they're more susceptible to allergies and diseases, infection, and weaker immune systems. And then the lack of mature breast milk from 0 to 6 months, it will eventually lead to a disconnect in weakened brain regions and lower response speech like we just discussed. And so this produces a citizen of America that is slower. Their memory retention and their brain reflexes, they're slower, their speech recognition is slower, so their relationship building is less than those that are breastfed. So we have talked about the importance of cultural change in America through education and through actually seeing it. We've talked about the effects of breast milk and the effects of formula. And we've talked about the availability of breast milk for moms that produce breast milk, moms that don't produce breast milk, and even parents that adopt. And so I leave you with this information, that I hope that you are more informed about the need for cultural change in America right now for breast milk and be given to babies at least 0 to 6 months old, and it'll help our whole entire nation be stronger and smarter and more stable. Thank you very much for listening to my speech.